Well, welcome back to my channel, Mispronounced Adventures, and this is another travel video. So, this is a little bit about what I do for a job, and how I earn my money and how I make my income. So I don't work remotely like a lot of my van-related friends do. I work as an expedition leader, so I take people effectively all over the globe on trips, and I also do some of the behind-the-scenes safety work, amongst other little bits. So that's more or less the way I've been doing it for like the last 8 years, my job wise. So this video is sort of about the most recent trip I've been on, which was a trip leading an expedition to Borneo. So for these type of trips, this particular one was working with a school group. So a small group of 7 and then 2 teachers from the school. All the students were aged about 16 to 17. We had a few birthdays whilst we were away. Normally the students sign up to these trips about 18 months before departure, and they earn the trip fee. They go get their first job to be entrepreneurial. It's not about their parents paying for it. They actually earn their way into it, which is the whole purpose of these trips is a lot of character development. But because they are under 18, I don't really show the group members in any of the videos or the photos I do. I'm going to show you what I did in Borneo, which is a place I've travelled to about 3 times before. So where is Borneo? It's the 3rd largest island in the world, and it's located in Southeast Asia. It's not a country, it's an island. Borneo is made up of Malaysian Borneo, Indonesian Borneo and Brunei. Being an island, one of the largest islands in the world, it's got a lot of endemic wildlife. Things like the proboscis monkey and the Bornean pygmy elephant, which is a subspecies of the Asian elephant, and other rare animals as well, such as the orangutan, although that can be found elsewhere. And for me, having a huge passion for wildlife, it's one of my favourite places to lead expeditions when I get offered a trip there. So after a long set of flights, we arrived in Kota Kinabalu, which is sort of the capital city of Malaysian Borneo, where the expedition took place. And in the evening, we can go out and have dinner on the harbour in Kinabalu, which has some of the best sunsets I've ever seen, always a highlight. So this trip had a trekking phase, a project phase, and some R&R phases. So the first phase we had was a trek. It was a 3-day jungle trek in the foothills of Mount Kinabalu. The first day was quite a short day, about 4 kilometres worth of walking through the jungle, so up hills for a mix of plantations and then before we finally got into the jungle itself. And good to adapt. The group get to see all the sort of wildlife around us. And for us, it was a great experience that night. We had a few options where we could sleep. We could sleep in some of the longhouses, or we could set up a hammock camp in the jungle. Actually, we only had one wee issue, was one of the girls got stung by the biggest, angriest looking hornet. From there, next morning, whilst the first day of this trek was all uphill, the next trek day was already downhill. Well, day 2 of our trek. So there was a lot of downhill, and I don't think we're too far from our camp tonight, which should be good. We've dropped quite a lot of altitude since yesterday, so it's a lot more hot and humid now. But yeah, having a good time. Still, again, only 4 kilometres, but in the jungle environment and carrying packs, it did take the vast majority of the day to get through. All these treks we're working with local guides, so when we got to our next camp, which is a bit of an opening and a clearing in the forest, we had the rest of the afternoon off. So in this particular camp we were able to go for a bit of a night walk. For anyone that ever goes to any jungle environment anywhere in the globe and you're offered by guides to go on a night walk, I highly recommend it, because that's where you get to see a lot more wildlife. So we went on a night walk just within about 100 metres of our camp to see what we could find. I found a variety of things. One of the very first things we found was this snake, banded Malaysian coral snake, so not something you want to be messing around with, and a variety of other things on the night walk. I have a little love for the critters and the reptiles and mushrooms particularly, so after we got back from our group night walk, quite often on group night walks you see less things because you are a larger group and you end up scaring away some animals. And I've spent quite a lot of time in jungle environments over the years, so I'm quite happy to go out within reason, away from my camps, have my own little look around. Particularly, I was after bioluminescent mushrooms, so that's mushrooms which glow naturally in the dark. And whilst I did find a variety of sort of the root systems for those mushrooms around, I did only find one individual mushroom, as you can see here. I absolutely love photographing these things. I just think it's a bit mad, really, that a mushroom is producing its own light. And when it's actually dark, so some of these shots are long exposures, but not very long. If you turn all your head torches off and you let your eyes adjust, you could see this mushroom from 20-30 meters away. It was a glowing beacon in the darkness. Really, really wonderful to see. However, I do have a love for biofluorescence as well, which is UV. So back in camp, I found these mushrooms growing just in the middle of our camp on a dead log, and lo and behold, with a UV torch, they glow a wonderful blue. And I spent a good 20 minutes in the rain photographing them. I just think they look spectacular. Playing with light and photographing interesting things and with a technical challenge is a big enjoyment for me. And it even comes across in some of the video here. It's just absolute madness. I think they're really beautiful. And I think it's made some stunning photos. One of the other things we did in camp is quite often guides will show you all the different uses for bamboo, because there are lots of different uses for bamboo. The bamboo out there can grow about this thick, so you can make pots for it, so you can boil water over the fire. You can make drinking glasses, spoons, you can make traps, and some of the traps are really quite intricate, all the way from the sort of small traps you would put on branches to catch rats and squirrels, to the sort of traps you see in the movies, which are giant spikes being flung across. It's amazing the sort of traps out there. But speaking of traps, we made 2 frog traps and put them in the local stream. And the next morning, this was our haul. A variety of different frogs, which we fried up and had for breakfast. And loads of people are going to think that's disgusting. But they tasted 100% uncannily like chicken. They were actually really quite delicious. So, fried frog for breakfast. And from there was our final day on the trek, which was a bit of an uphill day, uphill and downhill day to get out of the jungle and back to the starting point. And for me, I took probably one of my favourite photos of this trip, which was one of the smallest orchids in the world. And well, here's an example of the size of this orchid flowering next to my thumb. And before anyone goes, "Oh, can you not clean your nails?" which I've seen in the comments of this photo a few times, it's the jungle and I've been in there for a couple of days. If I had perfectly clean nails and fingers, that would look a bit strange. Enjoying pineapple local style. And from there, we made our way out of the jungle and back into our start point. So a 3-day round trip. So the following day, we stayed in the same area where we finished our trek, and we had a bit of a day around the local village, just experiencing sort of the day-to-day life of what it's like in these jungle mountain villages and what people do, which is more or less live normally. But we also saw what some of the local goods are. So we had a bit of a demonstration from how the local coffee is grown, all the way up until us as a little group roasting it and making a brew out of it, which works for me because I do love coffee. We also went on a little bit of a walk as well to see if we could find any wildlife. For anyone who doesn't like spiders, skip this next bit. We came across, they're quite common throughout Asia, or Southeast Asia at least, the giant golden orb weaver, known because it's quite a large spider, and its silk is a gold colour, as you can see from these photos. However, if you look at this here, this is the female, the large one, and this tiny little orange one is actually the male of the species. Later on that day, we also went to a local parang maker, and parangs are the Borneo version of, or the Bornean machete. I collect tools from machetes, particularly from all out throughout the world, because every country I travel to seems to have a different style of machete to fit their environment, and I particularly love seeking out blacksmiths who make those tools locally. So we went with the group to go watch a local parang maker, and they make these parangs out of leaf springs from vehicles, and they actually use other parangs to cut the leaf springs, so cut the metal after they heat it up, and then we got to watch a little bit of the process of him forming a parang. And as usual, I usually buy one, so this is my second parang I bought from Borneo. This is an old sheath, but the blade is a bit newer, and I've used my old one of these throughout the globe on multiple expeditions. They are a really good type of machete, I find. Wooden sheaves over leather, and the wooden sheaves don't rot, which is always nice. And this parang maker had been doing it for around 50 odd years, and he could finish a parang from steel to finished product in a hard work in about a day. But normally doing a couple hours a day, it takes about a week to do a leaf spring to a finished parang. So I bought this one off him, and that was the equivalent of about 16 UK pounds, which for what is a week's worth of work is equivalently not very much. But these are highly sought after parangs, and most of the ones he was making were on a made to order. So with our trekking phase over, we travelled about 5 hours through the interior of the island to the Kinabatangan River, which is on the sort of eastern coast of Borneo. And from there we had our project phase, which is called Capel. And I'll put a link to their website in the description so you can get a larger picture, but more or less they deal with reforestation. So the project which we were working on is a reforestation project where we got to experience as a group the whole variety of, well, the whole process of reforestation. So whilst we might be one small group, they are many of the British expedition companies and many groups throughout the globe contribute to this project over the course of since about 2001, which, you know, it's about the bigger picture, not the little bit we did. So one of the days we went into one of the areas reforesting, and our team, we planted about 35 trees, which doesn't seem that many, but I'll talk about that. It's about the bigger picture, not the individual. Because usually they plant, I think some of the early years they planted 40 to 50,000 trees, and of recent years, minus the COVID years, they were planting 67,000 trees a year. So we did one day which was clearing the ground with machetes and planting a variety of different fruiting trees, particularly the fruiting trees early on in the reforestation processes to encourage the larger mammals and wildlife and birds back into the area for the fruit, because that helps establish the jungle and that part of the ecosystem quicker, with getting more and more wildlife back in earlier on. On other days we went into the jungle and collected seeds, and also went to the nursery where the trees are grown as well for the project. But other days we went to a area which had been replanted around 15 years prior, which was a small wildlife corridor. I'll show you some footage from here. Sweaty work in the jungle. I am absolutely dripping. My back is soaked apparently as well. But clearing this wildlife corridor, which is just the 10 metres between the Kinabatangan River and a palm oil plantation, and there's 10 metres which is the wildlife corridor, which is all planted trees, and we're just clearing today. We've mostly done our section, but just hard graft with the machetes and just clearing stuff. Moist. And compared to the last video, here is one of the cleared sections. The reason it's important is while these trees are still young, some of them are 10 years old, the vines can grow really quite fast, and if they overtake the tree too early on, they'll end up killing the tree. So it's important just to manage the trees and manage all the undergrowth, just to give those trees an extra chance to get to maturity, and when they can sort of fend off the vines and stuff themselves. So this area being rewilded as a wildlife corridor, which links up other areas of already established jungle. So wildlife has a way to transit through to other areas because they don't like going through the palm oil plantations. Which did mean there's a lot of things to hack away, and also a few stray palm oils which have grown over the years. And I went out hacking away these 3 palm oil trees in the area we were dealing with, which, being the mid-30s and 100% humidity, I may have overworked myself, and yes, here is my extremely sweaty portrait. I could have been drier if I had jumped in the Kinabatangan River. So I did the adult thing, or the professional expedition leader thing that I do, was when we got back to camp, I made my student a sweat angel on the floor, because that's the sort of leader I am. This project, however, is based on an oxbow lake in the rainforest, and for a wildlife point of view, it's absolutely spectacular. So we had our own different accommodation in the jungle. This was my one. Luckily for me, because I was the only male member of staff, I get my own private accommodation. Quite a few mornings and evenings we'll go out for a sunset or sunrise cruise, wildlife cruise on the Kinabatangan River, where we were lucky enough to see a variety of things. The classic and ever popular seeing wild orangutans, the proboscis monkey, the proboscis monkey. This channel was called Mispronounced Adventures for a reason, which looks like a monkey with a for a face. I believe an interesting fact about the males of the proboscis monkeys are they are erect, and that's not the nose, for 20 hours of the day. I think they're going to consult a doctor after 4. As well as a few of the other monkeys, the long-tailed macaques, which you see all over this area, and we were lucky enough to see some silverleafs as well, which are sort of grey as adults, now ginger babies. And the majority of the wildlife you do see along the rivers is a variety of birds. We had a number of eagles. We were very lucky now to see 5 of the hornbill species which you could find locally. Plus in camp got to see a whole family of white-crowned hornbill, both the male, female and juvenile, which is the pied oriental, the black, as well as quite a few different species of kingfisher, stalk-billed kingfisher, I believe white-collared kingfisher, and a few others as well, amongst many other different species. For me, again, it was the night walks. Our group night walk with our local guides didn't turn up very many things, but I went out another one of the nights with one of the local guides. Just me and him. You can see I clearly have a passion for wildlife photography. So he took me out on a one-on-one night walk. We saw a variety of things. We were lucky enough I was able to see a mouse deer, which are deers which are about this big, hence the name. I was able to get a few photographs, not amazing ones, of the far less common banded palm civet, which was a lovely creature to see. Also got to witness something I've never seen before, which is mushroom sporing, and just the audio for this clip is just wonderful. I could have spent ages there watching that. Just wish I had my tripod with me so I could get a stable shot. And just to make things a bit weird, a crab. I didn't expect to see crabs in the jungle. And with my love of UV photography, a few interesting things. So I got to see a caligo, otherwise known as a flying lemur, and under my UV torch they glow bright blue, which will probably be the first recording of this species to do so, and from the looks of it, the first recording of any mammal with biofluorescence in all of Asia. But it's exciting for me because I also, in 2019 on an expedition, I discovered the first old world mammal, the first mammal outside of the Americas, in southern Africa, which glows bright pink under UV. So that was the first biofluorescent mammal I discovered as well on the African continent. And a variety of insects as well, such as this type of jumping spider, which is yellow with under normal light and glows a bright green under UV light. Again, this is probably the first wild observation of this creature having biofluorescent properties, but the big mammals get a lot more attention. But eventually, after 4 days, we had to wave goodbye to the Capel project and on to one of the R&R phases for the group. So next we had a very busy day, which was visiting Sepilok, or one of the world's most well-known orangutan rehabilitation centres. Next door to the orangutan rehabilitation centre in Sepilok is the sun bear sanctuary, and it's a similar story for the sun bears, but they are actually a lot more endangered and rarer than the orangutans or sun bears. And then from there we also went to the Rainforest Discovery Centre, a place I always encourage my groups to go to because I think it's fantastic. The Rainforest Discovery Centre has huge gangways and sort of trails running through the canopy of the jungle, where we went there with the group. Got to spot a few things, such as this vine snake, which was pretty great to see. It's always a real pleasure to be able to see snakes in their wild environment. And then we booked onto a night walk, which didn't go so much to planned, and I'll show you why. So we've had to shorten our night walk a little bit this evening. You might be able to make out a wild camera. What a lovely day for a walk. So whilst we got caught in a tropical downpour and absolutely soaked, it was a fantastic experience. We did a few little things on the way out, and we managed to see a juvenile pit viper, and luckily for us, the rain is warm. So from the Sepalok, or the eastern side of Borneo, we went back to Kinabalu, because we're getting towards the end of our trip. And the last day of the trip, we were going snorkeling. So we got picked up and taken to a few snorkeling venues where we were going off-boat snorkeling. Sometimes it's a hard day at work when you've got to experience this. Whilst I don't have actually much footage at all of us in the water, the group got to see 2 black-tip reef sharks, a type of turtle, and some octopuses. And I saw Naffle, because by the time I got over there, they'd scared them all off by swimming around. But nonetheless, great day, a few back of legs sunburnt, but a great way to round off the trip. From there, we came back, and it was going to be a final team meal, where I bought this fantastic shirt, mainly to embarrass my team. However, someone did tell me when I got back there are connotations attached to a pineapple-themed shirt, which I wasn't aware about. And from there, flew back to the UK. Again, basically the same thing in reverse. About 30 odd hours later, back to the UK. So a bit of a different van-related video, but that's sort of a little expedition report of what I do for a living. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to know sort of more about what I do or what I've done previously, if you find my website, which is alexfrude.com, which is not about the van stuff at all, it's just about the expedition work I do. And the images from the past, mostly environment and wildlife images, opposed to the clients themselves. But once again, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.